All right, welcome to the first official class of CAD 101. We're going to do some drawing today. Um, I got to read your, some of your previous work that you turned in. So I gave you guys some feedback and some grades on on the work that I signed last week. And again, as just a reminder, I left you guys some notes about this as well. If you were unhappy with your grade that you got, you can correct it and resubmit, and you can get an improved grade that way. I also read, kind of the background questions that I asked you guys, so that was really awesome to learn a little bit more about all of you, and a little bit about your background and why you're taking the class and that stuff. So that was pretty cool. I left you guys some feedback there too, in D2L. But this is going to be a long video, so I'm gonna get right to it. This video in particular will be the longest one, most likely, and then they'll get shorter from here because I'll just be kind of adding some skills. But today is kind of the big lecture of the user interface for AutoCAD and the basics for how we're going to do the drawings for the rest of the semester. So there's a lot to cover. But feel free to pause the video or take a break whenever you need to, rewind it as needed. You can play it a couple times, whatever you need. But the thing you want to have out is the drawing set. We're going to work straight off of the example set that's on D2L. And ideally, the way this works, best is if you have two screens, and then you can just have, this drawing set on one screen and AutoCAD on the other screen. If that's not the case, it'd be great to have these printed out. That way you can just be looking back and forth between the two drawing sets as you go. So this is the one I'm going to be working off of, example 1. So I'm just going to be dragging it back and forth onto this screen so that I can reference it that way for you guys to see. All right, so I'm going to drag this away for now, and we're just going to talk about the basics of AutoCAD and some of the basic user interface for this. So this is the home screen. So when you open AutoCAD for the first time, you're going to see this kind of setup. And when you go to open a new drawing, there's a couple different ways to do it, but I like to go to this button up here, which is the new button. So if you click this right here, then I got to drag it over from my other screen. You're going to see the templates that you can open up. So AutoCAD provides you with some basic templates to get started. You're always going to want to go to this ACAD DWT. And what that is just your basic AutoCAD drawing template. And that's going to have your units in inches. So we're going to be drawing for the most part in inches. And so this is the template we're going to want to be using. If you selected some of these others, let's see, ACAD ISO, you open that up, that's going to be in centimeters automatically. So again, ACAD DWT, that's going to be the one you want. So we'll click that and we'll click open. And this is the basic kind of format. So I'm just going to go over zooming and panning first. So with your mouse wheel, if you push the top of the mouse wheel kind of away from you, it zooms towards you. And so you can just roll it back and forth to zoom in and zoom out like that. If you press the mouse wheel down and hold it, it turns into a pan. So you can pan side to side. This is the view cube up here. We're going to be drawing in 2 dimensions, but if you were drawing in 3 dimensions, you could grab this view cube and rotate it, and this will happen on accident. You'll accidentally, grab the view cube, or you'll get some weird funky view and you want to get out of it. Just go ahead and press this button right here, top, and it's gonna reorient your view to the top view. Okay, so we got pan, we got zoom. Whenever you put your cursor on something and zoom, it's going to zoom towards your cursor. So again, if you have your cursor way over here, but you want to look closely at this thing, it's not going to do it. It's going to zoom towards your cursor. So just do that. Keep going towards your cursor, and you should be good. All right. So this is the origin. So this is going to be your 0, 0. So if you were, playing Battleship, or if you're in math class, 1, 1, 1, 1 is going to be up 1 and over 1, etc. So then it goes, into the negative numbers to get into the other quadrants, essentially. So the majority of our drawings, this is going to be our lower left corner of all of our part files. So I'm going to drag this drawing set back over. So again, this will be the lower left corner. So this corner is going to be right there on that origin. And then we're going to produce, from this example 1, we're going to produce these 3 views. We're not going to do this. We're not drawing in 3-dimension, or that's actually isometric. It's 2-dimensional, but it's drawn so that it looks 3-dimensional. So we're just going to be reproducing these 3 views. But this is a visual aid to help you orient and figure out what you're drawing. So, all right. So let's go back to AutoCAD. All right. All right. So this up here is called the ribbon toolbar. All these tools up here. And this is where you're mostly going to be. So 90% of the time, you're going to be on the Home tab up here. And then when you're on the Home tab, these are your toolbars. If by accident, and this will happen for sure, you'll accidentally click one of these other tabs, annotate, view, manage, output, some other tab up here, and you'll be really confused about why your toolbar went away. It's probably because you clicked one of these. You just got to go click back on Home, and your toolbars come back. So the tab below here, these are your drawing files. So we're on drawing 1. This is just, we haven't named it yet, so it's just called drawing 1. If you wanted to open up another drawing, like another document, you can just push the plus sign, and now you've got drawing 2, and you could toggle back and forth between your 2 drawings. But we're just going to deal with 1 right now. So we'll close that. Say no. Okay. All right. So we've got our line tools, circle tools, arcs. Your most often used tools are going to be over here. These are all your drawing tools. You're also going to be using this menu right here, which is your layer menu. And we're going to go over that pretty shortly here. We're going to learn how to use layers today. And I've got a little list that I'm consulting just so I don't forget anything. So that's the ribbon toolbar. And then the command line is right here. And I'm just going to demonstrate kind of what the command line does. So if you click the line tool, you're going to draw a line. There's a couple of things that happen. So right by my cursor, you're going to see a menu. It's going to say specify first point. Easy enough. That's the beginning point of your line. It wants to know where it's going to be. And down here, it also says specify first point. Okay, no big deal. We can handle that. So if we did this, we can start drawing some lines. If we want to delete a line, we just click it and we can say delete key on your keyboard. And then if you had a group of lines that you wanted to delete, or a bunch of geometry, you would go to the above left corner of the group, and you'd press and click and let go. So press once your left mouse button and let go, and then you get a nice box, selection box. You can do that. I'm going to get out of that. If you press and hold, you get this kind of weird selection tool. I don't use it very often. It's kind of strange. So I usually click once and let go and use the square like that. If you're in a command, let's say you're in the circle command and you're like, oh, I don't want to be in the circle command. I want to get out of it. Your escape tool or your escape button on your keyboard, top leftmost button. That's going to be how you get out of your commands most easily. So usually, you know, my left hand is right near the escape button because you're going to use it all the time. You're going to escape tools and get out and get into different ones and stuff like that. So escape tool is your friend, or escape button's your friend. All right, so I'm going to click that and just press delete and delete. Okay. So that's the kind of escape button. All right, so we're going to move from up here. We're going to go down to the bottom right corner down here. And there's a couple of really important tools that you're going to go to. It'll probably be your second most menu that you use. You'll use these the most, and then you'll come down and use these quite a bit too. So this, if you hover over it, it'll give you a little display of what it is. So display drawing grid. So if you toggle that off and it's just black, it's not blue, your grid goes away. I like having the grid on. I think it's helpful, but you can toggle it on and off as you wish. This here is snap mode, on and off. So if I click that and turn it on, and I get my line tool, you're going to notice the cursor is jumping between the grids, right to the grids. That's helpful at the very beginning of a drawing, and not as helpful afterwards. And I'll show you in a couple of minutes why I use that right at the beginning. But usually it's off. And right here, you can change your snap settings. You can make the grid spacing like bigger or smaller. So right now it's at 1/2 inch. That's fine. I just leave it there. I wouldn't change it. And then let's see. Okay, yeah, we'll move over to this. So this you're not going to use very often. This is orthogonal snap. So if I draw a line, my line only goes vertical and horizontal. That can be actually helpful on occasion, so that you know that you're drawing, or a line that's perpendicular, or horizontal or vertical, basically. I don't usually have it on. This tool here restricts cursor to specified angles. This can be pretty handy. So with this on, there we go. Get our line tool. So it's going to snap to different angles. I usually have that on. That's a super handy feature. And it's usually activated. And then in here, you can change the angles. This is the standard 45, 90, 135. That's the one I usually use. But if you're working for some, if your drawing is, split up by 30, 60, 90 degree angles, you can swap that out and make your line snap to different angular settings. This one you're going to ignore. Don't do anything with that. Isometric drafting, we won't talk about that until next semester. So this one, if this is on, turn it off because it'll mess you up. So let's see. Show snapping, snap reference lines. Let's see. We're gonna leave this one alone for now. And the last one I'm going to talk about is a super helpful one. So snap cursor to 2D reference points. And this will make more sense in just a second. So I'm going to draw a line like this. Escape. I'm going to go to this guy. And I'm going to open the submenu, and it's going to show me which points I currently I'm able to snap to. So I'm able to snap to endpoints, midpoints, center points, intersections, extensions, tangent, and nearest. So they give you some standard snap points to get started with. You can toggle these on and off. If you click these, that's off, that's on. And I'll show you what it does. So we grab the line tool again, and now my cursor will snap to an endpoint, and you'll notice it has a shape associated with that endpoint snap point. So endpoints are square, right, like that. Midpoints are triangles. Nearest is like a little hourglass, like two triangles opposed, like that. And so it gives you a little indication of what you're snapping on. That is really helpful. And I have that on a lot of times. Occasionally, what'll happen is AutoCAD will just have an affinity for a certain point. Like if you're trying to get, say, a center point, and it keeps snapping to an endpoint, and you can't get it to snap to a center point, you can come in here and turn off your endpoint or midpoint or whatever snap point that it's, that you don't want it to be snapping to at that time. So that's where you can control those. These I would leave just on, just like they are for a little while here. So we got this, and this is roughly how I would have it. I'd have this lit up, this one, and this one turned on. And that's it for now. Okay. All right, next we're going to talk about layers. So layers are really helpful, and they're going to be you're going to use these on every single drawing pretty much from here on out. And layers is kind of exactly what it sounds like. So you're going to produce your lines and things that you include in your drawing. You can organize them onto different layers. And then that'll give you the ability to color your layers in different ways so that you can help distinguish different things like hidden lines or dimension lines, construction lines. Those can all be on different layers, and they'll all be different colors. And then you can go and make one active. So you can be drawing on that layer when it's active and not on the other layers that are not active. You can also turn them on and off. So toggling their visibility on and off is going to be really helpful. But first, let's go ahead and start a new layer. So you're going to click this layer properties, and I'm going to drag my menu over here. It's not wanting to drag though. Let's see. Let's try this again. Oh, there we go. Okay, had to get the side of it. All right, so here's your layer properties menu. So automatically, you're supplied with one layer. It's the 0 layer, and the 0 layer is always white. So you've got the lines are always white. That's going to be where most of our drawing happens. So the geometry that is the shape of the object that you're drawing, that's going to be on the 0 layer. And then we're going to create separate layers. So let's go ahead and click this button right here. This is the new layer button. And we're going to say construction. And to change the color, we click there. I usually make my construction layer yellow. You can make it whatever color you want. I would suggest, though, a lighter color with some contrast to the black background. If you make things a really like dark blue or a dark red or purple, they're really difficult to see against this background. So I typically stay towards the lighter shades of any color that I use. Then I'll click OK. And now we've got our color for that layer. So line type is also a thing you're going to change from time to time. So we'll click this line type, and another submenu pops up. And right now we've got the ability to make a continuous line as the active line type. But if we click this load button, another little submenu pops up, and we can add in different line types. So the one line type that I like to use is the hidden line. So right, this one, hidden. We'll click OK. And the hidden line type is added to your library. So you have a little miniature library that you add from the main library, your line types. So then we want to make this, I usually make my construction lines dashed or hidden lines. You could make them solid lines if you chose to, if you like that better. I'm just going to make mine hidden. And hidden doesn't mean you can't see it. You can see it, it's just dashed. So then we're going to add dimensions, a dimension layer. I'm going to change my dimensions to, I'm going to just choose another kind of light color. Say okay. My dimension lines are always going to be continuous. You won't have those as hidden or dashed. You want those continuous all the time. Okay, and then we're going to have one layer that's actually hidden. It's called hidden. You'll see why that is the case later. We're going to make that white because that's going to be, yeah, that one. We're going to use the hidden line type for the hidden lines. Okay, and that'll get us a little ways for now. Okay, so once you've got that, we'll click close. And then up here is, this displays the active layer. So if we draw a line right now, then press escape, it's going to be a white line on the 0 layer. If we do the drop down, we click construction, do the line tool again, our next line is going to be a yellow line that is dashed because the construction layer is now active. Here's the other cool thing you can do that you will do pretty regularly. You will toggle on and off the visibility. So the more complex the drawing gets, the more lines are just going everywhere. So it's nice to be able to toggle on and off layers so that you can, so it's just easier to look at. We'll turn this back on again. Okay. So that's the basics of layers. It's pretty straightforward. It'll just take a little bit of repetition to get used to. And then we'll go ahead and delete these. Okay. So what we're going to talk about now is we're going to talk about construction lines. Construction lines are going to be your friend. You're going to get to know construction lines really well. All right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to form some construction lines that create boundaries for our drawing. So we're going to create a horizontal construction line across the base, and then a vertical construction line up the left side of our drawing. And then we're going to bound in these views with more construction lines so that each one of these little views is basically kind of boxed in with some construction lines. So let's go ahead and look at the construction line. To find a construction line, you're going to go into this tab called Draw, which is under your line tool. You'll click down, and it's a little double-ended, or it's a line with 2 arrows, one on each end. And so we'll click that one. So it's an infinitely long construction line. And now here's where I like to toggle on the grid. So right now you're going to notice that I can't snap to my grid at all. My cursor's just floating and it's not locking in. But if I click this grid, snap grid, Now it's going to snap to my origin. That's what I want. Except that I'm not on the right layer. So let's go ahead and make construction layer active. And I do not have my construction line selected for some reason. Okay. So again, we're going to read the little message next to our cursor. It says specify a point or -2 9.5. So you're going to notice that the -2 means I'm to the left, I'm over to the left of the y -2, and I'm up above the x axis by 9.5 units. So you could specify that point by typing in coordinates. That is not usually what I do. I usually like to snap to things and go that way. So you can see again that if I come down here, my coordinates are now 0, 0. That's what I want. And let's see, X line, hold on. Okay, construction line. Let's see, why is this not drawing a line? There we go. So you're going to press and hold your left mouse cursor, left mouse button. You're going to get a line, and then you'll go to the vertical and you'll click it, and then you'll come back down here and click your line again. So now we've got two construction lines that form the left border and the bottom border of our drawing. Okay, so then what we're going to do, and let me find my drawings again. What we're going to do now is we're going to draw a construction line up the right side that bound in this view right here. And we can tell that that distance is 5.13. Okay, so what we're going to do, how we're going to get a line, like a vertical line over here, is we're going to use our offset tool. The offset tool you're going to use quite a bit as well. So you're going to click offset, and let's go ahead and read that message. So specify offset distance or through, and we know that that offset distance is 5.13. So 5.13, enter on your keyboard. And then you'll get a second message that says select object to offset. And now we can go select the line. So now we can go to the right, or we can go to the left and offset that construction line. We're going to go over here. And we've got kind of the right extreme edge of that part. And then let's see what the top is. So if we look here on our drawing, we've got 3.5 from the horizontal base up to the top. So we're going to go ahead and we're still in our offset command. So we'll click again. And this time we want to type that other dimension, which is 3.5, just to remind myself. Okay, 3.5, enter. And we've got our top edge of that part. Now, between the views, so there's going to be, here's our front view, just like in the practice we did in that first exercise we did last week in Solid Professor. We've got our front view. We're going to have our right side view over here, and then we're going to have our top view up here. But in between is some space, and that space is 3 inches. So we're just always, you can always just use 3 inches as the space between. So we'll go 3, enter, over that direction. And then let's consult our drawing again. So now we've got a line that borders here. We've got 3 inches here to our next line. And then we want to get another vertical line along this edge right here. This view doesn't give us this dimension, but if we look in the top view, there is our dimension. So 2 inches for that distance. So let's go back to this We're going to offset this one. We're going to go to the right, 2, enter. And now we've got this, this border up here. We also have a top view, so we want 3 inches between those views, 3, enter. And then we also know that it's going to be another 2 inches up this direction because it's the same dimension as this one. So 2, enter. So now we've got kind of our basic outlines of where our geometry is going to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my 0 layer, and I'm actually just going to start filling in some things that I know. So I know that I want to turn my grid off like this, but I also know that this is just going to be a rectangle. And this is also going to be a rectangle. Right there, escape. And so we've got the basics of our top view. And so here's where toggling construction layer on and off can be helpful. So now we've got 2 rectangles that are going to represent this rectangle here and this one here. So you can kind of start to see the layout coming together. This one, I didn't draw a rectangle because this shape is not quite a rectangle. You know, we've got some angles here. And so I'm not going to use the rectangle tool in this instance. So we could use the straight line to fill in a few places, and we'll do that in just a minute. So I'm going to turn this back on. Okay, so we can use the line tool and okay. Okay, the one thing I want you to be really careful of as well is you can see that my lines are exactly on top of each other, but there will be situations when you think you snap to a point, but it didn't quite snap there and is just a little bit off. And so you'll end up with things that look like this. And when you zoom in, you'll notice that your lines are just a bit off. So just make sure that when you're drawing, that you're really intentional about waiting for that snap point to activate. And so now I know that based on the drawing that this is going to go up 2.25, and I'll just double check that. So yeah, 2.25 right there. So I'm going to go up here, wait till it clicks on the nearest, and my the distance is highlighted in blue currently. So I'm going to go 2.25, enter. And then I've got my, oh, see what I did there? So this is exactly one of those situations. So as I typed in my coordinate or my length, the mouse actually just kind of slid over and I lost my snap point. So you have to draw a new line, and that'll be something that happens pretty regularly. So just be aware that that's a thing that happens. You got to watch out for. So let's try that again. 2.25, enter. It's not snapping on there. Hold on. Okay. Okay, for some reason, it's not liking, it does not want to stay on that nearest snap point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here and then click there, which is another intersection. And then do it that way. Yeah, so it really didn't want to stay on that nearest snap point, which is kind of strange. So I just went up and had it focus on that intersection but still typed in 2.25 and it just shortened the line. So, okay. So that's another way we can draw a line. We can, instead of snapping between 2 points, we can just type in a distance and get your cursor going the correct direction and you're good to go. Let's see. Okay. So let's maximize this. Next, I'm going to draw this line going vertically, and that's 2.5. I snap to my intersection, 2.5, enter, escape, and I'll just turn my construction layer off. There we go. All right, so here's what we're left with. We've got some partial here, and then kind of the outline views over there so far. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is I'm going to draw a line that's at an angle right here. And so we're going to take a minute and just talk about angles. So I'm going to grab the construction line. I'm going to make this active. Okay. I'm going to click there. Okay. So here's how the angles work in AutoCAD. So right here, we are at 0 degrees. So you're, to the right of whatever point you start and you go horizontal, that's 0. And you can see the 0 degrees right in the message bar next to the cursor. As we go counterclockwise, you're going to see the degrees increasing. So we've got 37, and there it snapped to 45 because I've got the ortho snaps or the polar snaps on to kind of snap to 45, 90, 135, etc. And then we go up to 90 right there. And then it starts to go around to 135 and it snaps to it. And then we've got to 180 and just kind of all the way around until we get back to 0. So whenever you're trying to figure out, looking at a drawing, just remember this clock orientation. So where the 0 starts, you're going to use those to kind of calculate what degree you should be at based on your drawing. So let's pull up that drawing again. So this 45 is between this and this horizontal, basically. So if we were to put a construction line in that goes here along this, we would start at the 0, and then we'd rotate our construction line to 90, and then we'd add in another 45 so that we ended up at 135, kind of adding as we go around. So if we go in here, and it'll snap right to 135. Or if you see that that 10.6, that's the length from the start point. But if you press your tab key, you can go over to the degrees and you can type in 135, enter. And then you've got your construction line at your specified angle. You can do either way, but if you end up with some weird angles, you're going to definitely want to type that in. So again, the tab key will tab you over to your degrees. So now we've got an angled line that comes up here, and we've got an intersection we can work with. So let's look at our drawing again. So now we know that this is going to be 1.63 over to this line here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset a construction line to give me a vertical construction line at that 1.63, and we'll work from there. So again, I'm going to go to my offset tool, specify offset distance 1.63, enter. Click that, go there, and hit the escape key. And now if we zoom in, we can start to do a little tracing. So we're going to switch to our 0 layer, get our line tool, we'll go endpoints to intersection to intersection to endpoint. So you see it's grabbing midpoint. I don't really want that midpoint. So in that situation, I'd rather it be snapping to that endpoint right there. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my endpoint or my midpoint. Let's see if that, yeah, there we go. Now it snaps the endpoint. So there's a situation where you want it to snap to something specifically and it won't give it to you. So you got to go in and take away the thing that it's doing. So, all right, so let's toggle off our construction layer. All right, so now you can start to see the drawing coming together. And so I'm gonna move a little quicker here and just start laying out features like the circle in the middle, but it'll be just repetitive. I'll be repeating really similar steps as to what I was doing before. And then I'll be talking about some new things as I do them. So if we go back to our drawing, we're going to add this circle. So what we want is we're going to offset over to this line, and then we're going to offset up to this line, and then that will give us our center point. So we're going to go 1.5 up, and we're going to go 2.88 over. So 1.5 up, 1.5 enter. And then 2.88 over, 2.88 enter. And then escape. All right, so here is the center point for our circle. We're going to use our circle tool. There are multiple different circles you can choose. Center radius is a good one. If you're given a diameter of a circle, you can choose center diameter. If we choose center radius and it says specify the center point, we'll do that. But as you can see, I'm on my construction layer, which is okay because this will give me a chance to demonstrate something else. But also down here, the diameter is in parentheses. So if you select your circle and you're like, actually, you know what? I want to type in a diameter rather than a radius. Go ahead and type D, enter. And now this will switch to a diameter and you can type in that diameter. So let's just verify. Okay, it's 1.52 is the diameter. And you can see the arrows going all the way across. So we know it's a diameter. Okay, so 1.52, enter. And we've got our circle and it's on the wrong layer. So what we can do in this situation, it's pretty easy to fix. We'll click that and then we'll come up here and we'll just select this layer. And it changes the line, and you can switch your line or geometry to different layers doing that. So I'll just do that again. So Control Z to undo. I'm gonna select my circle, go back up here to the layer that I want it to be on and click there. And there's our circle. So, okay. So right now I'm gonna talk about hidden lines and what a hidden line is. So when we look at this drawing, we see we've got a circle in the front of this block, but it's really difficult to see if this is a hole that goes all the way through the block. Is it a hole that goes, you know, a 1/4 inch in and stops and just has a flat bottom, but doesn't go all the way through? It's really difficult to tell. But if we look on the top view, we get these little dotted lines, and those are hidden lines. And what those represent are the edges of that circle or that cylinder going through all that block completely. If this didn't go all the way through, what you would have is a dotted line that goes in, and then another dotted line that comes over, and then another dotted line that comes down. And that would illustrate for us that that hole went in partially and then stopped at the bottom. You know, it didn't go all the way through. So we have to represent these as well. So we're gonna use those. So the nice thing about having all these infinitely long construction lines is they show you where these different features connect. So for the hidden lines, if we just add a construction line on the outermost edge of our circle and we go up, then escape, I'm going to do another construction line. I'm going to snap to the quadrant there and go up. Then you just gave yourself some reference lines to follow. And that's a really easy way, instead of like, you know, offsetting these lines over a certain distance, you've already, you know, figured out where the edges are. Go ahead and just add some construction lines. In this situation, we're going to go ahead and switch to our hidden layer, and we're going to add in some hidden lines. Okay, so we got intersection. We get our line tool, and we'll go here to here, escape, get our line tool again. And then escape. Okay. Turn the construction layer off. And now we've got our hidden lines appropriately placed in that top view. The other thing we're going to have to identify on this view is if you're looking from the top, you're going to see this corner or this edge. And it's easiest to see on the drawing. So, you know, we're going to have a dark solid line that corresponds to the corners, to those edges. So now we can switch to the 0 layer, but we want to turn on our construction line or construction layer. And you'll see that these are already illustrated for us. So oops, that was the wrong one. I don't want it there. I want this one. And there actually isn't a construction line there yet. So let's switch. Switch layers. Okay. Turn the construction layer off. All right. So now you can see some hidden lines. We've got our visible edge lines. And we're getting somewhere on this drawing now. So as you can see, I've got the majority of lines filled in. This right here is a center line. And we're not going to worry about center lines for the time being. We're just going to ignore center line here, and center mark here. We're not going to use those for this drawing. What we're going to focus on next is dimensions. So we've got the basics figured out. You're just going to transfer the same things on this view and in the same way as we transferred them to the top view. But we'll just go over and talk through dimensions, and then you're going to be set free to do the rest of example 1 on your own, and that's going to be pretty cool. So dimensions, we're going to add in these dimensions, and I'm just going to talk a minute about some dimensioning rules or dimensioning practices for where dimensions go. Typically, we don't want to label more than, if you have a dimension, you don't want to label it twice. So if we have this width labeled here, we don't also want to add it on the top view. We just want it once. If we start adding double dimensions, it starts to get really busy and really confusing. So just one dimension for each value. You want to choose the view that's going to illustrate that dimension the best. So that's sometimes a judgment call, sometimes it's not. Like in this view, this is the appropriate view to dimension a diameter. You could dimension it between these hidden lines. It's the same value. That's what you're dimensioning is the, the diameter of that cylinder. But this is the view that illustrates it the best. It's the most clear. So, so keep that in mind. Bigger values go further out from the model. So as you can see, 5.13 is the biggest value. It's going to be farthest away. 2.88 is just a little bit smaller. That's the next one in. And then the smaller values get stacked closer to the models. I like to put my bigger dimensions kind of to the outside. So I typically would put the 5.13 at the bottom, 2.25 or 3.5 would be kind of out here. And then you try to get the rest of the dimensions between the views. So as you can see, we've got a bunch of dimensions in between here. And that's why we leave our 3 inches between the views, is to leave space for our dimensions. Okay. For the first couple drawings, it's pretty easy. You're just going to add every dimension you're given. So you're going to add every single dimension and just go ahead and put them in the same place as they are in the drawing. So you're going to basically produce this exactly, like to the T. Just redo it exactly this. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so we're going to switch to the dimension layer. And now my dimensions are going to be in this blue color. And you can just click the dimension tool here. You're going to see, it's going to snap the same way. And you'll get a dimension. You can just drop those dimensions. So this gets pretty easy. This is one of the easier steps to do. If you're doing a specific dimension, so say you want to do a diameter, you can click in this drop down and you can say diameter. Just like that. You can also select angular, which is helpful. So in angular, you'll just click on the line, on one line, then you'll click on the second line. And then as you drag your cursor, you can place that in different spots. So again, if you look at the drawing, this is how they display theirs. Actually, I think theirs is different. Let me look. Oh, it is different. Okay, it goes this way. So let's do that. So escape. So we'll do angular. Click here. And there. And then we'll get that placed just like it is. And pretty easy. So dimensions are fairly straightforward as long as you remember you've got your big dimensioning button, but then you can specifically select the actual dimension type you want to add. So I'll do escape to get out of that tool right there. Okay, so that's the basic tools you're going to need to complete this example 1, as well as the examples going forward. We're going to add things along the way. We're going to add new features like those center lines, center marks, etc. But these are the main tools we're going to use. We're going to use this toolbar in the home position. We're going to use layers a lot. We're we're going to use these specific layers a lot: zero, construction, dimensions, and hidden line layers. You're going to toggle back and forth between these, and then you're going to get a lot of practice, learning how to use the line tool and circle tool and rectangle tools and stuff like that. But this is I'm going to have you guys finish example 1 and just add in every single line except for the center lines and the center marks. And you will add in the dimensions as well. You will not add this. This will not be anywhere on your drawing. That comes a lot later. So this is just here for your reference, but you will reproduce this exactly. So good luck, and let me know if you have questions, and I can help address specific issues as they come up. What I tend to do, if you email me a question, a lot of times I'll make a quick video, and then I'll email you back with a YouTube link to a short video, just like the one you're watching right now, that's specifically, addressing your question. So, all right, good luck, and I'll have a spot for you guys to turn in your example 1 in D2L. So have fun, and yeah, good luck.